And make sure I got everything else. Hello, everybody. We've got Nancy and Susan. Thank you for joining us. We'll get going live here in just a moment. Lori, thank you for joining as well. Appreciate it. Get them off. Angela, hello. And Linda, good to see you as well. Ma Clarice, I probably said it wrong. I apologize if I did, but hello either way. Rich, what up? Mom, what up?
That's mom. I
Yeah.
was wondered.
Debbie, yeah, Debbie Boyle Fulton is mom.
I need to meet your mom.
I am who I am today because of her and my father, and I am grateful for it.
Me too.
You don't have to fib. It's okay. They already know I'm a smartass.
I wasn't actually fibbing. I am a smartass, but I also don't lie.
All right, let's get going live here. Hello, Alicia. Thank you for joining me this week for weekly sessions. Come on down and join us. Thank you, everybody who is joining us today. I am happy to announce we've got an amazing, amazing teacher and good friend, Alicia Katz Pollock, with us. We're going to handle just a couple quick questions from the group, but then we're really going to talk more today about what it takes for content creation. How do you create content that can become part of courses? Because I think you'd agree, everybody wants their wisdom and their knowledge to live on beyond their time in front, right?
That's a good way of putting it.
So, what do you say we kind of jump in real quick and get started?
Please do.
Awesome. Now, of course, we are going to get started by. I would love for you to please introduce yourself. I know you, but let's make sure everybody else does. Please tell us all about you.
Okay. So my name is Alicia Katz Pollock, and my company is Royalwise.com. I'm a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. And so if you ever take any classes from QBTrainingEvents.com for certification, for example, I'm either one of the trainers or one of the little elves on the Q&A typing furiously. I'm a top 100 pro advisor from Insightful Accountant, and I have a master's in teaching from Tufts University. I actually started my career as a seventh grade English teacher, and look at me now. And so at Royalwise, we have QuickBooks Online training courses, but then also Apple and Microsoft Office. And so we have this vast training library called the Owls that I'll talk about in a little while. And I do live classes and video courses day in and day out. And I also am a published author. If you either click those links in the handout or if you search for me on Amazon.com, I have a basic QBO fundamentals desk reference, not desktop software, but actually in a book, a desk reference book.
You sent me one. I have it actually. I love
Yeah,
it.
awesome.
Phenomenal book. Sorry to interrupt you. When she talks about she creates these books, they're a book and they're a good size and it's full of extremely, extremely valuable information. So when I upload this PDF for everybody, the links are clickable. Go check it out. You can definitely get them and great resource for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So I do want to ask you real quickly, kind of surprise question. How did you get into, most of us in the industry, we all are like, oh, we're trying to find a niche where we're trying to niche to a certain industry. But your niche is educating others.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find yourself into that niche? What took you there?
I came into this kind of backwards.
Okay.
I have a master's in teaching. I was teaching seventh graders. It was, you can imagine what teaching English to seventh graders is like. I left the schools and I went to the community colleges and I started teaching GED and computer applications like Microsoft Word. And along the line, I started my own jewelry company. I used to actually make mathematically accurate necklaces that were maps of the solar system as it was around you as you were born, like to the degree.
Wow.
And so I started with QuickBooks to do my own books for my own business. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And as my computer consulting, which I had been doing since I was kid, that part of my life continued to grow. And I was teaching college computer application classes like Microsoft Office certification. And as the business consulting and computer consulting started to grow, people would say, well, what about, can you show me how to use QuickBooks? So I kind of learned it on the fly, but I was like, I'm going to get this wrong. I can't be responsible for people's books. And so I started showing what I was doing and getting feedback from bookkeepers and accountants. And they were like, Alicia, this is actually like really good. Like, you're good at this. And so I realized that I love this more than making astrology jewelry. And I sold that company. And now I teach in QuickBooks full time.
Congratulations. I mean, I think it's great. You probably actually have a completely different perspective when you're going about making your courses and the guides to things. That is extremely helpful because it's very, you're showing what each of the functionalities you can do and what's the in-depth aspects of those functions, where some of us get stuck on our own workflow of how we use a function, and we only show just that. But you're going broader with it as well, which I think
I really
great.
like rooting out all the little ways that you can do one thing. Like, I like it being creative with the software. Like, I actually find QuickBooks a creative outlet.
Okay, so I have one last question as I jump back in, and this question is to you, but also to everybody in the comments, whether it's Facebook or Zoom. Star Trek or Star Wars?
That's the question that we actually ask everybody in our portal.
Okay.
I am Star Trek. My first D&D character's name was Jadzia. My ferret's name was Jadzia. I've been a long time Trekkie.
Jadzia was a great character. I love that. That's DS9 for those who may not be quite as familiar. But I would also agree. I'm going to hit the Star Trek before the Star Wars, but I do like them both.
You're really
Let
Star
me
Trek too?
Oh, totally. I have like
Oh
the
my
Star
God, that's
Trek.
awesome.
I have the Star Trek: The Next Generation playing cards.
Me
I think
too.
yeah.
I do
Good. I've
too.
never played with them. Maybe we should.
Mine are still new in box also, but I have them.
That was for one of my very first jobs in a comic shop. And so far, we've got Donna saying Star Trek. We got Tanya saying Star Wars. Come on, people. We got a tie. So throughout the episode, you'll have to add some more in. Well, I'm going to jump in. We've got a quick question actually that had been asked last week. I even pulled it up and then forgot to ask it. So when you start using QBO, you keep getting these annoying pop-ups that you must hit next and go through all the time, especially in the bank rec program. Is there a way to stop that? It's annoying. You can almost recite the messages by heart. So what do you think? Is there a way to get past all that?
Yeah, there is. So first of all, just realize that they're there because, especially with bank reconciliations or the bank feeds, you need to train people to do it right. And so Intuit is trying to help people have a good, positive experience. The good news is that if you dismiss them once, they go away, but it's once per file. And if you refresh your cache and you clear your cookies, then you get to see them all again. So there's no way to turn them off, but at least it's a one-time walkthrough for each one.
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff is like when you're first getting started, pops up. As soon as it's got some life to the file, then it goes away for sure.
Yeah.
So,
also, some of them give a little don't show this dialog
Absolutely.
box again, and don't just click back past that. Make sure you say, stop showing me this.
Especially reconciliation window. That's the most important one for that, I think. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're going to jump right into tips and tricks for course creation. And Alicia was very kind to share some of the first slides we have here she's had a lot of conversations about this before. And I'm going to interrupt her every once in a while to kind of share some of my 2 cents. But Alicia, why don't you take it away? Why is training important?
Sure. So, most of the people watching us today are bookkeepers and accounting professionals. And, we all know that we get the same questions over and over and over again. And if you have to take your time to answer that question for every client over and over again, that's a lot of time taken up. And then on this slide, I've actually got some statistics from the Gartner group, and I've actually been sitting on these statistics for fully like 30 years, that if somebody's not trained on how to do something and they're figuring it out on the fly, it takes them 6 times as long to accomplish the same task. If somebody self-teaches themselves, it takes much longer to self-teach than to just sit through a guided tour from somebody. And if you start factoring in your time as a cost, then it costs 73% more to teach yourself than it does to just plunk down the money and get training. And so if you take those two into consideration, the any money invested in taking a course and then any time invested to take that course, you're going to see your ROI come around really, really quickly because of all the time saved and all of the money saved. And so you get about 165% return on investment. So for every dollar you put in, you get $1.65 out.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, so untrained users take 6 times as much, 6 times longer. I agree with the next statement where you start to bring in the cost of capital for that as well, the opportunity cost as well with all of it. So, I mean, truly, this whole concept is what the whole group is kind of founded on, is trying to find ways to share knowledge with others, like with video instead of just written response, because sometimes technical jargon and accounting can be hard to explain in just language. You need visuals to help explain it as well. So completely agree.
Yeah.
Now, I was joking with you earlier. I appreciate the colorblind test on the side here. But can you tell me why provide training?
So, we all find ourselves answering the same questions over and over again. And if you have to answer it 10 times, why not just answer it once? And your clients make the same mistakes over and over again. And that could be the one owner who you explain something to and they're like, oh, yeah, I get it. That makes total sense. And then they keep doing what didn't work in the first place. Or you have to explain the same thing to every client, or it just doesn't stick. And so I actually started leveraging my experience as a trainer in a way of, I'm all about efficiency. I like things being cost effective. And when I would sit down with a client, let's say I was doing a QBO setup and training session, my hourly rate is $175 an hour. And if I have to spend my time with them, teaching them to use QBO, they're spending, $175 to $600 for me just to show them what to click on. And so what I started doing was making my training materials and then asking my upcoming clients to spend some time doing the reading or watching the videos before we meet. That way they're spending the time, but some of it sinks in, and the time that we spend together is tailoring the information to their specific circumstance. What's their terminology? What's their workflow? How is it the same and how is it different? And so that way it's way more time and cost effective for both of us.
I love that. I literally just got a phone call from somebody yesterday that was asking if we do training with QuickBooks. And I always have a difficult time answering that because, yeah, I do. But the cost of time, like you're saying, like I always feel guilty saying like, absolutely we do, but it's going to be this much money. And sure, I mean, they would get great training, but what you just said, that's the key right there, is having some kind of, like, if I already have a guide of some sort, put that together, have it as like the precursor for it. And then when we're actually taking the time together, it's more focused and they're getting the value added out of that. I think
exactly.
That's phenomenal. Beautiful. So now, so the last point here you had was, we of course would like to add a new revenue stream, right? But it's balancing that out, I think, is what you were kind of saying. So
right. I mean, you can make your money saying the same thing over and over again, and sure, it makes the job easy. But what I like to do is, if I've made a training, the more I can repurpose that content into different revenue streams, then I'm now making money for one set of effort. So if I can, take, let's just say beginning QBO, I originally came from writing notes for the client. Like I would actually document what to do for this particular client. And then I turned that into a universal document and then I videotaped it. So now I have a book on Amazon and I have a video course. And if somebody asks me to write an article, I can usually pull little snippets out and then repurpose them.
So I'd like to ask everybody in the comments as well, how many people provide training, and kind of a two-part thing, training to people who are looking for just training, and how many people do training for their clients' team members, right? So if you get the boots on the ground for a company and that new person needs extra training, do you offer that? And do you charge for it? How does that work for everybody? Love to hear some feedback on that. So now crafting the experience, you kind of touched base on it. One of the things that you said that you do is, I'm a firm believer of if you have a situation where a client request or something that you need to give a response back to, you can always repurpose that information to some extent. But at the same time, the hard part is you can't show the private information from the company, right?
Right.
So that means when we're doing this stuff, we have to rebuild the scenario in a,
And that's why we love Craig's Landscaping.
yeah.
I use Craig's Landscaping for all my training materials. Then it's always fresh and it's universal, and other people can pop in and use it as their own, like they can follow the trainings themselves.
Okay. So now one of the reasons I don't use Craig's Landscaping myself, but I like what you had said of how people can follow along that way, is if I'm trying to set up the story of the books, which is usually like, I get wordy and I get very detail oriented on the things. So sometimes it takes me a couple days to build something out and I need to save it. So I've always kept my, back in the day, the 5 for 25 deals, I would keep those and then use that to build things out. Do you actually, if it's a short video, you just do it in Craig's Landscaping so people can try it and follow it that way is what you're saying?
I try and do most stuff in Craig's, but I do have my own 5 for 5. It's called Wild Style Construction. And so for anything, like if I have to demonstrate more about the bank feeds, or if it's something that isn't in Craig's Landscaping, because not everything's in the sample file, or, if I want to do job costing reports, I'll do a lot of my development in that sandbox as well. And so I kind of flip back and forth between the two when I teach.
Nice. Now, Susan was saying in the comments that she charges by hour for training, and they are usually her clients already.
And that's exactly where I started.
Yeah. And Linda Baker had said, I offer training for a fee and also offer training for employees of a client, usually an additional fee, especially when it takes more than an hour to train.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I've gone into businesses and done training sessions where we, projector, put it up on the wall, everybody goes through. And when I do those, I want those to be live in the client's file. I don't use Craig's Landscaping for that. We actually do it in the client's book so that each person can see what they're supposed to do.
I agree with that. And I have this one client, it's an interior designer that it will be one I always just remember. I always put it under my own company name whenever I do training, because then I know exactly what I need to go back and delete. Because if you're going to do it in the company file, you need to remove this stuff. Everybody, don't forget that.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a great approach.
Otherwise, you have this outstanding AR for a long time for some reason.
Right. So if it says Alicia Pollock, you can delete it.
And we always do a custom couch. It's always creating a custom couch, and they always give me a hard time. I'm like, okay, custom couch for $500. Like, yeah, you could possibly get a pillow for $500. That's that's about it. So, you
need a comfier couch.
Exactly. So crafting the experience, start where they're at. This is what you were just kind of talking about again. It's by some of the stuff is building it into that file, right? So how else do you craft that experience for them?
So you kind of have to get into the mind of the person that you're training, because it's more than just telling them information. You actually need to cultivate the experience or craft the experience where you want them to come away like excited and giddy about what they've learned. And so I've always loved this analogy about what you know you don't know, what you don't know you know, and what you don't know. And that's kind of the path that I like to take all of my attendees from, all of my learners from, is that the owner knows where they're at. So they've got this they can tell you who they are. But you need to know that, because you don't know if they're a beginner, you don't know if they're an expert, or you don't know if they're self-trained and they think they know it all, but they're actually doing everything wrong. So they're going to be somewhere on that continuum.
I have another way to kind of say something like this, at least from the trainer's perspective. It's really easy to forget what you had to learn. So as we're training people, sometimes we forget what they don't know, and we try to start with what we know. So we have to really pay attention to this step like you're talking about to make sure we're being as effective as possible when we're helping educate.
Yeah, I used to make the mistake of thinking like, oh, they must already know that already. It's so fundamental and I don't want to bore them. So let me just jump into the more advanced stuff. And I found that to my still continuous surprise, people don't know as much as I think they know. And so that's why you got to start in that orange quadrant and know your audience.
Which one's orange?
Upper left. And so go back to that slide then for a
Oh yeah,
second,
sure.
because the rest of it is that the person's coming to you for training because they know what they don't know. They're asking you questions. They're asking you to like, this is what I want you to tell me. But to have a good experience, what you should also do is reward them psychologically by, acknowledging that, hey, look, you know this thing that you didn't even know you know. And that's where the warm fuzzies come in. And so they feel good and confident about what they're learning. And then where the value added comes in, and this is like where I like to live as a trainer, is what's that other little extra tidbit that they don't even know that they're missing, that's like the pain point that we're going to solve, or that one little nugget that transforms their whole experience. Like, do they not know that QBO is multi-tab, that you can have as many windows open as you want? That's a game changer for bookkeepers coming over from desktop. But if they don't know, they're miserable. And once they know, like, they got more from that than anything else I said in the last 2 hours.
Some of our friends refer to those as Seth nuggets, but it just all depends on who's teaching at the time. So
no, mine are not Seth nuggets.
Nuggets of wisdom. So approaches to training your clients. There's obviously many different approaches, many different places to get the content. Explain what you mean by the different approaches.
Yeah. So at this point in our industry, there's different ways that you can go to get training. Like, there's already training materials out there. Intuit actually provides stuff for you that you can share with your clients. And I'll show you about that in a second. The next option is making your own. And then there's also a whole lot of people in the Intuit Trainer Writer Network who are already making these materials and filling in these knowledge gaps. And, if you're passionate about training and that's where you want to go in your industry, by all means, there's room for you at the table. But if you've already got a good gig going, maybe you don't need to recreate the wheel. Maybe you can leverage all of us out here in the content that we're creating and incorporate it into your business, which is a win-win-win situation. It's a win for your clients because they're getting professional training. It's a win for you because you can spend your time doing what you already love to do and what you're already good at. And then it's a win for us in the training community because this is what we do for a living. So
I want to
you
add
can
to
make
that
these
also.
partnerships.
I want to add to it a little bit because a lot of people I think might be concerned about trying to, I guess you could say, outsource some of the training because they're concerned about that relationship with the client.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you through the interactions within our full community that is never a concern. The people that are assisting in training, they're not looking to acquire new clients. They're looking to be helpful and share knowledge, and they will always they do their best to always promote and build up the person who referred them at the same time.
Right. I mean, in some industries, like, everybody's fighting over slices of the pie. But in our community, and because it both like Intuit and what you're doing, everybody's really trying to foster a sense of community. Instead of fighting over slices of the pie, we're just baking a bigger pie. There's enough for everybody. And, some people start training in order to gain clients. I provide training so that you can serve your clients. I don't want to do daily bookkeeping, so I'm not a threat.
I love it. So now you talked about some of the Intuit provided materials, and this, as it says, it's part of the Pro Advisor benefits, which this is a good time to remind everybody, 6 days and counting, people, 6 days for your recertification.
Get your recertification in now. Yeah. Yeah. So when you log into your QBO portal and go to the Pro Advisor tab on the left hand side, there's two tabs. There's benefits and there's training. The training is for us as professionals, but the benefits, if you scroll down, there's actually already created training materials that are client facing. And my good friend Esther up in Canada wrote this set of them. There's 5 of them, from getting started to navigating the recording the transactions, like that's the big one, the workflow reporting, and then the whole QBO ecosystem. And so you have materials, that PDFs that you can just hand your client. And what I like about them is they're really well stated, they're beautiful. So it makes you the hero if you can just give them a starting point.
This really is a great value add. I've used this numerous times to be able to give to clients. And again, if you haven't created your own content, this is something you could provide to clients to have them start going through first. And then when they go through and do the training with you, you could utilize this as kind of a backbone of information. Still better if you have your own content, because you're going to have your own feel and your own like cadence to it, of course, but it definitely would help get the things rolling for you, right?
Yeah. And everything there is really well stated. So if you're struggling to figure out what's the best way of expressing something, you don't have to work that hard because somebody else already figured that out. Yeah.
So creating your own client
Mm-hmm.
specific materials. And
Yeah.
then when we're done here, I figured I was going to ask you a little bit about like what platforms and such you use, but tell us about creating your own materials.
Yeah. So, like I said, when I first started, my training materials were literally documenting somebody's process so that I could give them an instruction manual at the end of our session. So that's kind of how it all started. And people still like that physical book. Like they like having something in their hands, even though like I'm fully digital, I read PDFs on screen. There's a comfort, especially for somebody who's been doing what they do for decades and they're moving to this newfangled systems and electronics. Then they still get the comfort of the paper. But we are in a visual world now, and so if you are Zooming with your clients, just hit record. You can make this one big video and store it, and you can record it up in the cloud, or you can save it to your computer and then upload it somewhere else. If you're not Zooming, if you just want to give instructions to a client, Loom is a great suggestion. That they make these beautiful, the interface is gorgeous, and you get your face in this little cute circle down at the bottom, and then you can just send them videos. When I send a video, I always ask the client to download it, because that cloud storage gets filled up and then it starts dropping off the old videos. And so you can't rely on those being there permanently. So if you want them permanent, you download them, ask your client to download them. And then you can always upload them to your favorite file sharing, whether it's Google Drive, Dropbox, there's a list of them up on the slide. Even my accountant, inside your QBO, there's a shared documents area there that not enough people use.
Great point.
And you could just upload them into that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. I haven't thought about uploading the videos there. We use share files, so part of our structure, folder structure, is we have videos, and we would upload videos to that place. And you're right, one of the biggest challenges we have. So when we're using Zoom, the nice thing with Zoom is like this. It's great for long format, longer trainings. You can take it, you can download it, you can even save it to the cloud where you get multiple versions of the video to get all fancy and creative with the editing, right? But then with Loom, use Loom, Loom, that's great where you've got, like you said, the little circle, you can even go bigger, and you can be sharing what's on the screen. I like to use those all the time. You'll see, like if I post video answers around Facebook on different things, I'm almost always using Loom real quick to show something, because I can do a quick video. It's got to be less than 5 minutes because I'm cheap and not paying for it. If I paid for it, I could go longer, of course. But they compress them nicely, and I can upload it to share knowledge with other people, and then I can delete it as well.
Right.
Because it is important to keep in consideration, if you're actually showing any financial information of a company, where that
To the
information
point.
is going to live.
Yeah,
right?
that's a
Because we
really
don't
good
get to
point.
control that part of it.
Right. Yeah. And so those solutions are good for just like one-offs, like you're working with a client and you want to show them a thing. If you're trying to go bigger and more permanent, then if you're looking at putting together a course, then you need a course delivery system. And, there's a lot of them on the market. There's, everything from just putting stuff up on YouTube to Kajabi, to Thinkific, to Teachable, and they give you a nice, beautiful interface where you can upload a course in snippets and the person can just work their way through the snippets. What we decided to do at Royalwise, because again, I'm a teacher and we're not just QuickBooks, I went with a learning management system. So I use something called Matrix that's actually course delivery. And so our whole thing is like you join our mentorship program and you can subscribe and watch all of the videos. And this interface lets me do live classes or 16-week classes or
Nice.
just post a video or use it as a way of taking registrations for a live Zoom. Like for us, it gives us complete flexibility. And then what I do for my gold members is I record all of our mentorship sessions and they can actually just go to their custom course in my portal and they can see the recordings of every single session we've ever done together.
Now, kind of impromptu, is that something where on the back end you can kind of show some what that looks like? And I don't know if it's easier to do or not. I did bring up, I use Thinkific currently to where I could show that real quick if it gives you a couple of moments to kind of pull it up, just so people kind of get a feel of it. How would that be okay?
Yeah, if you want to pull it up on your side, you can go to learn.royalwise.com and that takes you straight into our catalog.
Learn.royalwise.com.
And I'll stick that in the chat as well. So that's kind of our subdomain that has our learning system in it.
Yeah. Which that's a whole conversation for another time for people with websites about subdomains.
Yeah. Okay. So this takes us into our system. And as you can see here, we're not just QuickBooks. My husband's our Apple guy. I'm Microsoft Office. And then we've got some business apps training as well. But go ahead into the QuickBooks section.
Click on yes, I assume.
Yep. Yes, exactly. And so here we have it broken up into my mentorship program, our live events, the QBO video courses, my publications, and then a whole section just for accountants and bookkeepers. But go to QBO video courses because I want to kind of get a feel for what a learning management system looks like. And so this is now all of the individual courses that I've put together. And then I re-record them everywhere from 6 months to every 2 years so that the interface stays the same. And so this acts as a guided tour. So if somebody's just getting started, they can watch them all in order. Or if they just want to watch this one thing that's their particular pain point, like bartering, they can go to Bookkeeping Tricky Situations and just get that one course. And so you can pick almost any one of those courses, and then you can see what a learning management system brings into it. Go to not that one. Go to and that was one of my quickies. Go to the Bookkeeping Tricky Situations. It's one of my most popular. And so this is the course portal. And I treat this like an academic course. We're actually getting our CPE credit from NASBA like any day now because we have treated us like a school.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Got fingers crossed that it's any day. And so this is all of like the what you're going to learn kind of stuff. And then if you scroll up a little bit, there's another tab. Keep going, there we go, videos. This is where it's broken out into all the individual pieces. So whenever I do any training with somebody, I break it up into bite-sized nuggets, and then you can either watch the whole thing on autoplay where it just goes from section to section, or you can just dive straight to the piece you want.
Wow. This is very, very impressive. This is a lot of work, everybody. This is a lot of work to get this set up on.
We've been working on this portal since 2015, and we're like at the point now where we literally have a school, pretty much. Yeah. And the big news that we're super excited about is we are releasing an iPhone, or not iPhone, it's Google Play also. We're releasing a phone interface for this system. Oh, and so wow. like sometime in July, you're actually going to be able to go download the Royalwise Owls app, and it will take you in and you can actually watch in the palm of your hand.
So you'll be able to do this stuff straight from, that's amazing.
And that's again, learning management system. You go big, you get frills.
And I want to draw attention real quick because I don't think a lot of people know when to have the ability to do CPE credits, it is a heck of a process. It is a costly process as well. And there are rules, regulations, everything else that have to be followed. So just when you're taking courses to get those CPEs because you need them, just remember what people go through to make that happen for
I
you.
want to give Jamie Campbell a shout out. She and her
Sure.
team actually watched our entire curriculum to make sure the data was good and give me things, corrections that I had to make.
Awesome. Good job,
Yeah.
Jamie. That's together we all succeed. I think that's
Yeah.
amazing. So
Yeah.
a great example of a course. Thank you so much for sharing
Hmm.
all of that. So now, when let's see the next one we got here. So partnering, you kind of talked about this, and we're kind of talking about some of it as we going through this. But
Yeah.
partnering with different content creators, right? We both create content. If we're sharing knowledge with each other, maybe it's partnering because you have somebody go through your content like Jamie did to evaluate and make sure it's that second set of eyes that you're not missing something that's vital or
Hmm.
important, I would say.
Yeah. And we're beginning to have bookkeeping firms use us to train their new bookkeepers is one of the brand new things that's happening for us. And so what we've started doing is making landing pages for partners in our partner program that have affiliate links so that like if you don't want to do this training for yourself, if you would rather partner, you can get affiliate links and then you can just send people to your landing page. Like if you go to royalwise.com/Mariette, she's got a page up there. And then she just sends her people to that page and they can click the links and then she gets referral credit. Her bookkeepers in her program get somewhere to go. I've got a couple bookkeeping firms who do that as well. So we're beginning to be the training team for bookkeeping firms.
Love it.
So we can do business owners. We can take your PETA clients and make them less of that. And
Is there
we
a PETA guarantee?
I will give you a PETA guarantee. Absolutely.
Okay.
You're my favorite PETA.
Awesome. I take that award with pleasure. This would be so. This actually, this should have been a great resource that I should have provided the person who called me the other day. And actually, I have their contact information. Once we're done, I will follow back up and send them over.
Yeah.
Because again, time wise, I love to help share knowledge with others, but on one to one, it becomes time intensive and it's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've been trying to create some synergy in a bunch of the trainer writers is we're beginning to now have a conversation because we don't want to repeat each other's content either.
Amen.
And so we're trying to like find a way to work together so that we can suit everybody's needs. And there's partner programs and revenue sharing, like everybody wins.
Yeah, there's, I guess, kind of a way to say is there's a background channel where people are trying to collaborate and help make sure we understand who's creating what content and help be able to promote each other as best possible. So I think that's great. So
Yeah.
the more we do all that stuff, again, I already said it once, but together we all succeed, right?
Yeah.
So
It's you can't say that enough.
So now I love this. We're the Royalwise.com owls, on-demand web-based learning solutions. Tell us all about this.
Yeah, so our logo has been an owl, and actually the secret about our owl is that the wing is a computer mouse. That's kind of the little subliminal in there. And Jennifer Diamond, who's a leader of our Woodard group, came up with this acronym. It was actually her invention, the on-demand web-based learning solution. And so now we call our library the Owls, and we call all of our learners the Owls. And so that's kind of our nickname for our whole training program.
You actually do a whole live stream video of the Owl's Nest. How often is that? It's basically it's like almost right before this.
Yeah, it's every other Thursday, and we like do our best to jam it in right before your session
Thank you for
starts.
I appreciate it, and I definitely recommend people check it out. I try to jump in there where I can right before when I'm not doing prep stuff.
Yeah. So when we do live for the Owl's Nest, my husband Jamie is my other training partner. He's my partner in life. He's my partner in business, and so the two of us talk about industry news, what's happening in our company, but outside our company, and we get to find out what's happening in the Apple world, the Intuit world, and throw in training tips, and have a good time. We've got some good repartee.
I was
There's a
just
reason.
talking.
There's a reason we're married.
I was just talking to a friend about Apple training, and they were connecting with you for some training. So I
Oh,
think
good, good.
it's great. It's nice to know that, I can talk about Excel and QuickBooks all the time, but Apples and Macs are not my thing. PCs. So
I'm so sorry.
exactly. So contact information for you, of course. Best way for people to reach you is via email, phone number. Do you have a preferred social media platform? Any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I live on Facebook. I'm not on. We have a presence on the other ones, but you're not mostly likely to get me. This number and email address is the best place. The person who's actually going to pick up the phone or answer the email is Jeff. Jeff Black. Everybody needs a Jeff. Everybody should have a Jeff. He's amazing, and so he does the needs assessment to find out what your problems are having or what you need solved, what we can do to help. If we can't help, who we can forward you on to, which classes are the right ones for you. Is our subscription mentorship program the right thing? Like, he can totally dial it in. And if you're one of the bookkeepers on who either wants training for your clients or a firm who wants to train your bookkeepers, he's the guy who sets up the landing pages and
Nice.
the partner sections.
Love it. So be sure to reach out. And again, as a reminder to everybody, when you download the PDF, this will be inside Cubic Community Live. If you download the PDF, the hyperlinks are all clickable. They can take you to the sites, so it makes it easier for you to be able to find all this stuff.
You always go above and beyond.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I wanted to be on the same idea of this of sharing knowledge, everything else. I wanted to take a quick moment and share Dawn Brolin's new book she just had published. It's called The Designated Motivator, and I feel honored that Dawn had sent it to me before it was out, just to kind of get some feedback on it. And I was really, really impressed with the book. As I kind of said here, we all have a designated motivator in our life. Sometimes we just don't realize it at that time. Now, the true question is, have you realized that you are the designated motivator for others, possibly? And this book helps me kind of recognize some of that. And it also made me kind of think of a concept of like a person's journey towards wisdom, right? We start off as this person who is hopefully a sponge and desires more knowledge. And maybe you jump into some of this DIY course type stuff where maybe you're jumping in, and it's a lifetime access, which is all great. But you don't always necessarily get all the exact training because you're still learning through yourself on it. And if you don't have the right, learning traits, I guess is a good way to say it, you may not gain the most out of it. Then some people usually will start to hire maybe a coach. It could be a business coach, a life coach. It could be a baseball coach, whatever the coach is for whatever you're doing. I feel there's a major difference between a coach, a mentor, and then what Dawn has really come up with, which is that designated motivator. And I feel that once you get past the hired coach, something that's a little bit more powerful is having a mentor. And I tend to find the best mentors, you don't recognize that they are your mentor until after the fact, because they're pouring knowledge and wisdom into you. And then at some point in time, if you're fortunate enough, you get to become that mentor for someone else. And again, when you look at it from the same perspective, the person that you're helping to share your knowledge and wisdom with, they probably won't understand exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it at the time, but hopefully you help build them up and make their life a little bit better. And then the final part, where this is where I love what Dawn has written, is becoming a designated motivator. So there's a mentor, which you're sharing knowledge with somebody, but that's fundamentally different than being somebody's greatest cheerleader, being somebody's motivator to like accomplish and grow in life. And I feel like that, to me, defines a person's journey towards wisdom. So definitely check out the book. The link, if you click on the book on the download, it'll take you to the Amazon page. It's definitely worth it.
Making a designated driver and taking that to new levels.
Yep. So resources wise, everybody, I kind of show these. I put them in the download so people are familiar with it, but be sure to check it out. Use the calendar. Alicia, you are amazing with using the calendar. I greatly appreciate it. The more we have stuff on there, I think is just powerful for everybody.
Well, thanks for making that available. It's nice having a one resource to go to all those places. I mean, that's what I tried to do with my training for QuickBooks users Facebook group, but I
Yeah.
love having an actual public calendar. That's awesome.
And again, thank you for sharing the knowledge and everything else that you have. You've always been a major supporter of this whole community, so thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're very welcome. And the information that I was sharing today about how to train, for those of you who are going to Scaling New Heights, I'm going to be doing a train the trainer session that where I'll actually be talking about what you need to bring to the table as far as successful training. So getting more into communication styles and learning styles, and how do you monitor the room to see if people are getting it or not. And so I'll be actually teaching you how to be a teacher.
Yeah, you have a booth there this year, which is
I
pretty
do.
awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I
I'm
can't
gonna have a
wait for that.
table.
Yep, we'll be putting the Yeti together again this year, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So we've got coming up next week, we have actually one of our group members, Brian Hirschman's going to be our guest host, and we're going to be going through some stuff from the group as well as talking about some cybersecurity stuff that he was pretty passionate about. Again, as a reminder for people who are interested to join us as a guest host, reach out. I've got a form that you fill out. We'd love to have you on. It's all about helping promote others. Right after this today, we actually, there is a Kathy Grosskirk with the West Metro Atlanta Woodard Group is doing a special event. I got permission to promote this. It's usually just for group members. It's literally like right after this. For those, if you're just going through and you still need to do that recertification, sign up, log in, jump into it. They're going to be kind of helping talk about some of the information. You still got to take the course on the test yourself, but they're going to help kind of motivate you through it, of course. So,
Kathy's a great motivator.
oh, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So, on that, any last things you'd like to add? Any last comments or
No, thank you for having me. And this has absolutely been a blast.
thank you so much? And as always, here's wishing you all a very successful week. Bye, guys.
Thanks.